And I want to start with the finding that kind of reframes how honestly you might think about, I dare I say most of the event. The entire event is what I have written down here, but I'm going to call it most of the event. Here's what we found. Live auction items were only 6% of everything that was offered, but they drove 59% of the revenue. So I'll say that again, because I really do think it's one of the most important components of this episode, because I know that time is your currency as nonprofit leaders. 6% of the items garnered 59% of the money. The median live item sold for $2,500. The median silent item sold for just $120. Live auctions raised over $5 million out of almost 800 items. Silent auctions raised just under $4 million out of nearly 13,000 items. So those numbers really do speak for themselves, but please hear me loud and clear. I am not telling you to throw out your silent auction. Silent and online bidding is an engagement powerhouse. It's a machine. It's where you get 13,000 people into the act of bidding. It's how you capture the 40, the 60, the $120 gifts, and they scale. And when they're tied to an in-person event, it warms the room up for the really big moments that come with your live auction and your fund a need or paddle raise or whatever you call them. And it's also an excellent vehicle for getting those elusive and, frankly, again, pointing to our data that we see all of the time, those ever receding small and micro donors. The silent auction is a wonderful way to get all of those folks engaged with your event and excited, frankly, about your mission. But we do need to look at and be mindful of the effort ratio. There's just no other way to quantify it. Your team pours often not a small amount of energy into thousands of silent auction items to raise, in our data set, $3.7 million. And they look at maybe a small fraction of, or tightly curated kind of handful of live auction items, maybe, fewer than a dozen per event, usually less than 10. However, those items at less than 10, they raise significantly more money. So the strategic question that I think we all need to consider is, are we spending and sourcing energy in proportion to where the money is? Most organizations spend 80% of their effort on the silent auction catalog, and they treat the live auction as something that their auctioneer or consignment partner will handle. But our data tells us that the approach should frankly be exactly the opposite, exactly reversed. Your live auction lineup deserves not just more of your attention, but the majority of your attention, because it earns the majority of your dollars. If you find 5 spectacular live auction items, you merchandise the hell out of them, that's where I think you should go. Get your board on board and build out really unique experiences. Talk to consignment partners and source the best live auction trips that you can. Then once you've found them, share them on social. Provide images, videos, details, and value, and do all of that well in advance of your event. Also, do it at the event on site. And I can see that I've got a couple of my, hello there, benefit auctioneer friends listening in today. Tip of the hat to you all. You all have been saying this for years. And we have data that backs you up just this past spring. The live auction portion of an event not only tees up the paddle raise, which is, we all know, where real money is typically raised, but it is also where event revenue gets a very, very big boost.